HPIE 3.0. It's my humble request to the moderator of the panel discussion, Colonel Hemraj Singh Parmar. Please come up on this stage. He's a co-founder of AyushPay. Can we make a louder noise and louder applause for the moderator of the panel discussion here? So next, I would like to request all the esteemed panelists to please join us on the stage. So Dr. YP Bhatia, the Managing Director of Astron Hospital and Healthcare Consultant of Gurugram, please join us on this stage. So next, I would like to call here the Commander Navneet Bali, sir, CEO of Clearmedi Healthcare. Please come up on this stage. So next, I would like to call here Dr. Vibhu Ranjan Gupta, Group Medical Director of Sarvodaya Healthcare. Please come up on this stage and please give them a huge round of applause. Come on, everyone. Now you shall start the session here.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share our views. We have a fantastic panel, all experienced people from the industry. As you're all aware, that healthcare is the biggest industry globally. And the industry is being disrupted by the technology. Unfortunately, healthcare has been very slow to adopt newer technologies. But the turning point was the COVID pandemic. And most of the healthcare organizations have had a relook at the infusion of new technology. We are all aware that our health systems were totally overwhelmed during the COVID pandemic. We ran short of beds, critical medical devices, life-saving drugs, manpower. In India, we have close to 2 million beds, whereas the requirement is of around 5 million beds in a country of 1.4 billion people. Last year, more than 2 crore surgeries were carried out. How much technology was involved in execution of these surgeries, many of which were life-saving? Today, we are talking of very advanced technologies which improve outcomes and also lead to better efficiencies in the hospital ecosystems, thereby impacting patient outcomes and also improving the top line and profitability of the hospitals. We have a host of medical devices available. We have the cheapest data presently globally in India. With the help of mobile devices which have proliferated cheap data, we have mobile health available, or mHealth in short. With the help of the Internet of Medical Thing devices, we can connect patients remotely. So if we have about 2 million beds and there is a pandemic, we are not well over with the last of the pandemics. We will keep seeing them with unfortunate regularity in future as well. Our health systems are likely to be overwhelmed, and to take care of that, we need to bring in better efficiencies into our healthcare ecosystems. So, diving straight into the discussion, my first question is to Dr. Bhatia. The COVID pandemic, Dr. Bhatia, proved to be an inflection point in the healthcare industry, and a lot of healthcare organizations rushed to bring in newer technologies which improve the efficiencies within the hospital and also bringing in better outcomes for the patients. So what changed post-pandemic, and what is the nature or future of these technologies which are currently disrupting the healthcare industry?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity and the question which you have raised. You are absolutely right that the pandemic actually took us by surprise. No one was prepared. And like many other situations, even as a country, there were an initial denial, not me. It will happen there, but not me. It will happen there, not me. And even that time which we had to prepare for ourselves, probably we were not there in the preparation mode. However, the first wave and then the second wave when we talk about it. By the time the second wave came, we had already been hit. We had already been struck. And a lot of things which we were facing during the first phase probably were at least more organized during the second phase. I'm not saying that we've succeeded or failed in the second phase. That's something which is a very question of debate, which will always going to be repeated. In fact, that question of debate remains one step further, that if it happens again, are we prepared for that? The only thing what I can say is, first phase, we were taken by surprise. We were totally unprepared. Second phase, we were prepared, but the intensity which it could strike, we were not prepared. And like anything, every time it happens, when the situation is passed for the next, we are again remain in the denial phase, and we don't look at that. But yes, you are very right. The compulsion of pandemic brought in a lot of things. In fact, telemedicine, about which there was always question marks. Pandemic was one phase when practically it became the order of the day. The shortage of the doctors, the accessibility to the places, all that factors became so important that ultimately people had to resort to telemedicine. And telemedicine, in fact, in that present shape, the way it is shaping up the world, a lot of it has happened because of that. The virtuality of the whole system, from the physicality to virtuality. Because as much as you say, were we scared? We all were. Whether we are the physicians, whether we are the paramedics, we all were scared. And everywhere where we could shift from physicality to virtuality, the opportunities, in fact, were sought for. And any equipment, any methodology, anything which could bring virtuality into the system, that was brought into the remote monitoring, the remote controls, everything that could be remote, which was possible within the human and physical scenario at that particular time, was definitely brought in. The sharing of resources. I could not have imagined my physician team sharing the resources to make sure that their exposure time to the patient is the most reduced. While in the normal time, they were never willing to, share those resources. ये मेरा patient है, ये मेरा patient है, ये मेरा patient है. That's the time this हमारा 6 का patient है. मुझे 6 दिन में एक बार देखने जाना पड़ेगा. Now, all these foundations of the telemedicine, virtuality, sharing of resources, optimization. I mean, where could you think of doing more than 100 CT scans on a day in a single hospital?
Yes.
In the Venkateshwar hospital where I'm associated, we probably touch about 130 CT scans a day for that matter.
That's a huge number.
So optimization of all resources, okay, a 256 light CT did help in creating the speed of the diagnosis or whatever it is, but virtuality of the relation, how we could actually capture most of the X-rays in the patients, through a portable machine on the remote devices, so that they could be just taken on a screen and analyzed in the department later on. So again, the question of exposure being the minimum at the same. So all those factors, I think, were the technologies which were there or which could be there, but at the same time, the pandemic triggered it off to make sure that we start using it and we put it into action. And that became, once you realize that this can happen and this has served the purpose in a great advantageous manner during that time, they become the order of the day. Today, virtual consultation, the telemedicine, the tele follow-ups, and that, of course, that teleradiology and all that has been there, but further expansion of even in a kind of or oncology setups, what we are doing, tele-planning and everything. All these things, they have taken shape. They are no longer something, which we used to say that it is available but not in use or not being adopted. The adoption of technology has been a great phenomena which pandemic has put forward. And I'm sure it's something which is stabilizing over a period of time.
Wonderful insight. So, one of the major developments which has lately taken place is the moving away of the care from the healthcare facilities. And technology has been really one of the major drivers for this. A lot of remote ICUs came up because hospital ICUs were full, and 2 million beds for a population of 1.4 billion people, looked a very small number. But by increasing the hospital efficiency and better utilization of the emergency medicine specialists in the hospital, through a remote monitoring technologies, remote ICUs really helped control a lot of morbidities during the pandemic. So this brings me to the next point, Dr. Bali. What is the need of this technology? What are the benefits, to the patients, to the providers, to the insurers in providing good treatment to the patients? And how have you been deploying them in your hospital? You worked with Narayana, and now you are the CEO of Clearmedi Hospital. So what's your vision for the deployment of some of these technologies?
Thank you very much for inviting me here today. So let's look at the problem facing Indian healthcare today before we jump into the question. We have 140 crore Indians, and out of the 140 crore Indians, almost 80 crore of us belong to the missing middle, who are not covered by either insurance or panel or government. And we also spend one of the highest out-of-pocket money from our pocket, which is close to around 58%, the world average being only 18%. You just move out of Delhi or the metropolitan cities in India and you'll see the actual status of healthcare in the country. You go to the bigger hospitals like All India Institute of Medical Sciences, KGMC Lucknow, where the daily OPD is close to around 15,000, where it is extremely, extremely difficult for a normal common person to get treated. So this is the situation that we have now. And we are talking about democratization of healthcare, where we believe that every Indian citizen should get equanimous treatment. And so how do we sort this problem out? There are only two ways of doing it. One, we need to use technology. And the second, we need to go to places which are remote in India and get the clinical care to them or to make sure that it happens. So let's talk about technology first. So I think the need of technology is a foregone conclusion. It's an arrow which has been shot from history, from the day human beings discovered the wheel, and then you had the Industrial Revolution, and then you kept on moving. I think this is something which is, the humanity will go on seeing it. Everything which makes us humans more lazy will be adopted by us through technology. Everything which kills a repetitive way of our working will be adopted by us with technology. Everything that makes things more simpler for us will be adopted by technology. Now let's come to healthcare. How does it matter to all of us sitting in the room what technology does? For a common, normal man, which we all are, we also are not sitting in this conference room. We are our loved ones, sometimes ourselves would want to go to a hospital or have to go. So there are 4 or 5 things that we require. Number one, can technology keep me out of the hospital? That is the foremost things. None of us want to go to the hospital. Because hospital, when you go, it's a grudge payment. It's everything that we're doing against our own wishes. So foremost, can technology keep me out of the hospital? That's going one step back from becoming a patient. Now, secondly, if I have to go to the hospital, can technology make my stay shorter, less painful, can result in better treatment? When I get to the hospital, I'm back to my normal life. Can technology make me pay less? Can technology make me pay what I went to the hospital and they told me that you're supposed to pay 100 rupees? When I go out, I'm actually paying 100 rupees. So that's the patient side of the story. Like, look at the doctor. Please compare a doctor with a pilot of an aircraft or a surgeon to a pilot of an aircraft. I very frequently give this similarity. So for a doctor, what is required? He or she requires technology which makes the patient feel much better, by his own brain, which is being helped by those tools which make the diagnostic faster, which help him to assimilate data which is available and then to give a better medicine to the patient. As a surgeon, am I be able to do a surgery with more precise manner? Is technology not so overwhelming that I lose the basic tenet of a patient-doctor relationship when I have to sit in front of the patient, at least look at the patient, touch, feel, or do whatever I have to do with that patient? Now look at the insurance part of the sector that you also mentioned. Insurers, and that's one very, very important tool which will actually help us sort out this problem that we are facing. So fraud prevention.
Yes.
Are we able to give a quote for the insurance for the normal public, which is as low as possible, but still cover as much as possible? So when the patient gets discharged of the hospital, he or she is again not forced to pay out of the pocket despite having the insurance. Can I do that? So this is the entire system that exists. Now you asked about how technology helps. Please look at what railways did when they adopted the ticketing system, what aviation did when they adopted the ticketing system, forget about all these. Look at how movie going changed when you started booking tickets on Book My Show instead of coming and standing in the line 2 kilometers long and then buying tickets in the black and then many times not being able to see a movie. So technology changed everything. So here also there are two parts of the whole problem. One is the non-medical part, where as a patient or as not a patient, how am I being helped? So everything in technology that we do is helping us because you are able to pay bills online, you are able to book appointments online, you don't have to go and stand online, thankfully, in many good corporate hospitals. But the problem still exists in these bigger institutions like All India Institute of Medical Sciences. You still have to do all that because you have not yet adopted technology, which actually would have helped thousands of these people who are going every day to AIIMS or KGMC Lucknow to make sure that you are able to see the doctor. It does not exist. And that's why you have the problem in these institutions, because you have not adopted technology. Similarly, I don't have to go to hospital actually for many things. Like I don't have to go to hospital and meet a diabetologist every time my sugar levels fluctuate. I have it on my mobile phone. The reports that I get from the hospital are on my mobile phone. I don't have to again go to the hospital. And there are many, many, many things which keep me out of the hospital, don't make me travel on the roads, don't make me suffer the traffic, make me pay bills online and everything. So that takes part of my ease and comfort as a patient. And as it is, it is traumatic for a patient to go through that journey. So that is one part of the story. Now come to the medical part. As was discussed in the last panel, we have precision medicine in oncology. You have robotics coming in. You have AI, which is helping radiologists to diagnose things much earlier or in a much more precise manner. And many, many more such technologies which are helping. So again, when you segregate a pilot and the people who are flying the aircraft, it is exactly the same similarity. The autopilot almost now makes sure that pilot lands an aircraft in almost zero visibility just by sitting down and putting some things in the aircraft. You don't need some thing even if the weather goes down. Similarly, it is helping doctors in many ways. So to answer your first part, of course technology is helpful and we are seeing that making changes, but the sad part is that those changes are happening in metropolitan cities, in bigger hospitals. It is not happening where actually it should be happening, where it is the smaller towns, the smaller villages. You see the same thing going on and on again. It is not happening where it's supposed to happen in bigger institutions like our country, like All India Institute of Medical Sciences, KGMC Lucknow. The same thing goes again and again. Try getting an appointment with a doctor in AIIMS. You won't be able to get it unless you either know somebody or you have to go and stand in that line for again and again. Every year you find patients lying on the footpath in AIIMS for waiting for 3 to 6 months, 8 months for getting an appointment with a doctor. So here it is a practical situation. So the technology has to penetrate into all these areas if really technology has to have any meaning for all Indians. And that is where we call it that, let us say that technology has helped us democratize healthcare. One more important thing, even today you will have n number of patients approaching you who do not have financial backup. despite the fact that Ayushman Bharat cards are now available, states like Jammu Kashmir, Rajasthan have made it almost everyone. If you have a Mercedes, you can walk with an Ayushman Bharat card and get yourself treated. But there'll be thousands of people now who either do not have the card, even when they have the card, they don't know what to do. Half the hospitals don't accept the card because of the trust issue, because you think that the payment that you get is much lower. So those problems still exist. So it's not that we have not achieved a great, we've not made great strides. Longevity is better, the infant mortality is lower, but still we have those problems going on. As far as my organization is concerned, I think every organization, whether mine or Narayana Health, which I left, and I served there for 6 years, and Dr. Shetty actually, 8 years back, he built a company specifically to take care of the technology. So the HIAs that the NH has today is their own HIAs. Yes. They started working on...
it also to
yeah, they started on app for the surgeons or the critical care doctors where they can sit in their home and monitor the patients. So because, he realized that for an ICU, a doctor doesn't have to be there all the time, and rather it is counterproductive for a doctor to be there. So all healthcare institutions today are going into the basics. Everyone is trying to become paperless. The EMRs have started coming in the hospitals. You have good, robust HIS systems which are coming in. Hospitals are investing in AI-based radiology solutions. They are investing in robotics. So, I think all of us are moving towards that direction. The question is, for a country like India, where very few of us reside in towns which are much, much better like Delhi NCR, this technology has to percolate down to the last man or woman standing into areas which are inaccessible. And that is the day I think we can think that really technology has helped us to reach that point.
So what are those inexpensive technologies which we can use to ensure the healthcare delivery to the last mile? Because 2/3 of the population totally with the negligible access to very good quality healthcare. This is one of the challenges, and the investment from the private players currently in the primary healthcare is almost next to zero. And one of the prime reasons is because it's not an area which is really profitable. I was associated one of the projects, PPP projects with the government of Odisha. They wanted to start 25 hospitals, one of them would have been a cancer hospital. And they were also ready to ensure, loss funding for the first few years. Give the land on subsidized prices. Can you imagine that project never took off? Because none of the major providers actually stepped in and wanted to make that kind of an investment because the ROI wasn't guaranteed. So healthcare projects by nature tend to be capital intensive. You have to invest upfront. Your rate of interest, everything starts from day one. Your fixed expenses are there to take care of. So how long does it take? For a very efficient hospital, post-construction, it takes anything, if the facilities run well, 3 to 4 years to break even operationally. And your payback periods can be anything, 7 to 15 years, really. So with that kind of a challenge, delivery of primary care, because today we are resorting to episodic management. There is virtually zero screening of the population at large scale. We have preventive healthcare, which is next to zero, against a target of 1.5 lakh wellness centers, which we had envisaged. We have completed 1.86 lakh, small drop in the ocean, but a step in the right direction. How do we scale up the scope of these services so that 2/3 of the population undergoes screening before the situation becomes grim and cancer is detected late? We have a large number of people who are suffering from chronic diseases. Cardiac conditions, diabetes, hypertension, COPDs, and cancers. So these are really going to affect productivity and will dent our growth. We wish to be the 3rd largest economy by 2027. It's very important to have a healthy population. And given our expense on the healthcare delivery, private sector will have to play up. And technology will therefore play a very critical role. So, question to you, Dr. Bali, how do you think with very inexpensive technologies we could bridge this gap for primary care, in the last mile?
See, truly speaking, I also don't, usually agree with this, that technology is expensive. Actually, India is a fantastic country, and you need to use scale to distribute the costs over a large amount of population. So it's a big myth that technology is expensive. Technology is not expensive, but yes, you need some crazy people, to decide to do something which is different, not go on the beaten path, and that's where a company like Clearmedi comes in. I mean, where we want to say that everyone, everywhere, equally. And also that's where companies like Narayana Health come in. And so the thing that you spoke about, I'll just give a small example. So Narayana Health was, asked to run a hospital in a place called Katra. Not even Katra. I mean, all those who have gone to Vaishno Devi know there's a small town in Katra. And near Katra, there was a small village called Kakrayal. There's not even in Katra, by the way. It's deep inside, 45 minutes or 1 hour from Jammu city. You cross 3 tunnels to reach this. And they wanted to set up a hospital. And as rightly said, none of the bigger corporate players wanted to do it. But NH put their neck on the block and they said that we will do it. But thankfully, as you rightly said, the government said that they will give them land, building, all the equipment, and a viable gap funding for 5 years. It was around 45 crores, which was promised earlier. And, as it happened, I joined NH at that time when this project had just started. And everyone said and told me that this is not possible. You will fail eventually. And, it's just not possible. It's a remote area. There are no doctors possible. It's not possible to run this hospital at all. It's a 300-bedded super specialty hospital in the top-of-line machines. There's a linear accelerator. It has got nuclear medicine, everything you can think of. And 5 years, 6 years now since, I joined NH, and that hospital is a very successful hospital. It's one of the most successful hospitals in that area. And one important factor was obviously the doctors who belonged to the place and decided to join that hospital, the sons of the soil who belonged to Jammu or to Srinagar wanted to come and serve in that hospital. The second was extreme hard work, that the team did for those 4-5 years. But one thing I'll tell you, despite giving 45 crores for 5 years, at the 6th year or closer to that, we realized that even 45 crore was not enough. And that is how, the intervention of the policymakers comes in. They decided that if they have to make this hospital successful, they have to pump in a little bit more money. So they pumped in close to 6 crores more. And they said, doesn't matter, the contract says 45 crores. We understand, Ayushman Bharat came in, the cash patients went down. So a lot of things changed over the 5 years. And hats off to the Shrine Board and the governor and everyone, because I was in the governing board. And so gave 6 crores more, and the total thing went up to 51 crores. But after that, what happened was miraculous, and the hospital today makes a good EBITDA. The doctors are very happy because their financial status has gone up. They get more money in their pockets. The whole area, the economic development has happened. You have, when a hospital or an institution becomes successful, it has a contagion effect. So,
absolutely.
So technology is not expensive. You need some crazy people to use it. You know the right way to use it. And there's no better country than India to distribute costs because of a huge scale. So that's a myth the technology is.
Thank you so much. I think that success
very
of that hospital.
Happy to inform you that on the meeting which we held on 30th of November, the medical college has been approved for that place. So just I have the Katra itself. I have the privilege of being the hospital consultant for that institution and being associated for last 20 years.
Excellent. So kudos to both of you.
So, 30th November, in fact, the Shrine Board has approved of upskilling it to a medical college. 50 seats to start with and master plan for 100 seats. And it's just being executed.
So I'm aware of the challenges, when this hospital came up. People were quite skeptical about the success, whether this hospital will ever become profitable with all the challenges, We want to build good hospitals in metropolitan cities, where we see profit. But hats off to Dr. Shetty's vision and your fantastic personal effort. I've run a PPP hospital in Udupi in Karnataka, so I know how challenging it is, especially working with the government agencies, running to capacity today, 200-bedded hospital, state-of-the-art, providing excellent international quality treatment in a remote tier 3, tier 4 city. The challenges are absolutely, phenomenal in running such hospitals. Now, this brings me to the next question, Dr. Gupta. So, infusion of technology in the hospitals and the profitability of the healthcare facilities really starts from the inception stage, right from the design stage. You cannot build a hospital and say, I'll break it even in 3 or 4 years. You have to plan your space properly, all the specialties given the local environment. And each hospital is a very unique identity in terms of the excellence which you have inside the premises, the infrastructure, the clinical excellence that you bring in, the specialties that you build, the IT infrastructure, and also the other associated equipment and technology that you want to bring in. So a lot is spoken about the smart hospitals today. So Dr. Gupta, you have been associated with a wonderful hospital which provides quaternary care. What is a smart hospital? What are the major ingredients, and how does it really affect the patient outcomes and the profitability?
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Parmar, for the question on smart hospital. I will like to start that all technologies, they are driven by people. So first, if we talk about smart hospital, the doctor, the nurses, the paramedicals, the staff, they should be smart. Smart does not mean only physically smart. Just see the level of doctors. The problem was in India, when we were studying MBBS, there was no subject on IT. There was no subject on quality. There is no subject on medical legal cases. So even when a poor doctor, after doing MBBS, MD or DM, when he joins practice, and he is asked to follow all these parameters, so it's a new thing to that. But thanks to Medical Council of India and now NMC, now these things are being put into doctor syllabus, nursing syllabus, so that when they start working in the hospital, it becomes very, very important that they work smart, they have good practices. So as far as smart hospital is concerned, Dr. Umar Nambiar has given very nice presentation in the morning session. There are so many things to it, but with my experience of 20 years in hospital administration, working with Fortis, Medanta, Escort Heart Institute, I will just like to add few practical things, what I have seen, how things have changed. So first of all, infrastructure of the hospital, maybe like 25, 30 years back, you remember nobody wants to go even to any hospital. Even nowadays, nobody wants to go any hospital. Hospital used to have a lot of bad smell. And now you see the level of hospital which are coming, new hospital, very good infrastructure, very good building management system. Like I worked for 5 years in Medanta as medical director. You know, the building management system there is so good that building is earthquake resistant. And everywhere systems are so good because it was planned. So the basic principle of a smart hospital is good planning. You go to the basic PDCA cycle. Dr. Mehta is the quality, Dr. Bhatia is the quality guru, and I am also associated with NABH. I have done assessment of more than 300 hospitals throughout the country, maybe around 50 in virtual mode when COVID was there. But what we have seen, my colleague, Wing Commander Bali has told, India is a great country, how we have evolved. So thanks to COVID, so many things has evolved. I still remember, at presently I'm in Sarvodaya Healthcare, the first case, when we got the report positive, it was 12 o'clock on Saturday night. And then we called for the emergency meeting on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So that was a journey, how we started and how every day government was coming with different guidelines. And then things evolved. And now that is a history, how reports were given through use of technology. And you have seen the example of COVID vaccination in India. I think even we were getting the WhatsApp from USA that there even COVID vaccination is not coming on the online. And in Indian, we are getting the certificate immediately as soon as vaccination is done. Yeah. So that so many things are there. Okay. So coming back to the smart hospital, I was talking about, first is building management system. And second, I will like to divide into 3 areas. One is medical part. Second is non-clinical part. And third is clinical excellence in terms of you can say clinical decision support system. So medical things we have discussed so many, whether it is your registration, whether it is your OPD billing, appointment system, and then your integration of your lab and radiology through your
HIS,
LIMS,
PACS,
yeah, PACS and all those
automatic
things.
medicine
Yeah.
dispensing systems,
Yeah. So
smart
even,
energy systems in the hospitals.
Yeah, even patient.
Right? Okay.
And another thing which we have evolved, even in Sarvodaya, we have got a very good company called Hospital. Means hospital in house. Because nobody wants to go to hospital, and that was a very good, very practical during COVID time. And so many patients now use.
Thank you so much.
So that was about the concept of smart hospital, and there are so many things.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think we can go on for the whole day on the subject itself is like an ocean. So one of the prime reasons of having any business enterprise is also profitability, creating value for its investors. So these technologies, Commander Bali, obviously once implemented should be able to, besides ensuring good outcomes for the patients, also generate healthy EBITDA margins. Right, so what kind of technological impact will be there? What kind of ROIs can we expect or EBITDA margins typically from the infusion of new technologies?
Yeah, so if you look at the P&L of a typical hospital, you have the top line, and then you have three important cost buckets. One is the manpower cost, second is the consumption, which is your drugs, consumables, and implants, and third is your overheads. So I will not talk about business right now. So let us say top line is what it is. We keep it as ceteris paribus, with all remaining constant. So then you have three more important buckets. I'm just going into a little bit more details. So I think technology is going to impact on all three of them. Let's take consumption. So I think technology will help you to reduce your departmental consumptions, your consumptions in operation theaters, your consumption for, 2-3 such departments where the consumptions are very high: medical oncology, intervention neurology, and orthopedics and cardiology. Obviously, the costs itself come down, and when you have better technologies available to, procure this equipment at much lower rates. So consumption itself will come down. Look at the overheads. Overheads again consists of basically huge costs going into AMC, CMCs, marketing costs, electricity, housekeeping, etc. I think technology is going to penetrate there and also make it much, much more efficient. Manpower, I would not dwell into it, because a mistake that usually is done is to start cutting manpower left, right, and center. I'm not a great proponent of that. Yeah. But yes, technology might replace some of the...
and the first ache falls on the nurses.
Yeah, so I think that's the...
which is a lower bucket in terms of the cost center.
Yeah, so I consider it to be the last one. I don't want to look at manpower as a scapegoat, and it never actually helps. But yes, it's quite possible that technologies infiltrate into something that they do. But obviously, as last panel also someone talked about, there'll be no job losses. It'll translate to something else.
Them.
So you're already seeing EBITDA margins, which used to be to the tune of 10-12%, going towards 18 and towards the 20s now. And it's quite possible that if we do this, because until unless we do this in any which way, when you're going to look at Ayushman Bharat and such schemes where the margins are pretty low, you will have to run much, much more efficient hospitals to be able to that kind of EBITDA margins. And if your EBITDA margins are not to the tune of 18-20%, then you're running an unsuccessful enterprise, because you're not being able to then replace your equipment, pay to your doctors better, and run this as a going concern. So I think technology is going to help us to really, really look at these three cost buckets and reduce them.
Wonderful. So also, with the increase of the internal efficiencies, we can reduce the average length of stay, which means, faster turnover of beds, same number of beds. Let's say it's a 4 A-loss and you have 24 days. 6 times you can turn over 200 beds, which means 1,200 discharges. Imagine if your A-loss increases to 6, what kind of challenge will be there. So a lot of new companies, new models are coming to the market. Just wrapping up. For surgeries, you have Pristine Care, Practo, Glamio, telemedicine. You have new models for telemedicine companies. Apollo 24/7 is there. For e-pharmacy, a lot of new companies, Tata 1mg, Netmeds, PharmEasy, for online lending and reimbursement. My own company, AyushPay, we've recently also launched health cards for patients. E-diagnostic companies, which was something unthinkable. During COVID pandemic, people started coming to your home, collecting your samples and giving you the reports within a couple of hours. Health insurance companies, patient aggregators, large number of players are there in the market which are disrupting the market, which are also taking the healthcare delivery really to the last mile. Now, to also talk about the regulatory landscape, all these new initiatives are good. We've been speaking about artificial intelligence, machine learning since yesterday. And some of these advanced technologies, 3D printing, for example. Yeah, so there is a large shortage of organs in the country. I've handled one of the biggest organ transplant centers in the country. We did more than 20 organ transplants every month. Large waiting lists for heart and lung, because that can only come from cadaveric donors. It can't. Everybody has 2 kidneys. You can donate. You can donate liver because it will regrow. But the problem is with these critical organs such as heart, lung, huge waiting lists and not enough available. So maybe 3D printing and other things will help. Thank you so much, panelists, for your very critical insights. If you have any questions, quick 1 minute, you may please ask, but you can also ask questions subsequently. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bhatia, Commander Navneet Bali, and Dr. Gupta for lending the perspective of tech-enabled excellence and quality and how it can lead to efficient hospital administration and operations. I'm sure as a novice for the sector of technology, we were discussing something called as improving the outcomes through not just the technology only, the hardware technology, also we call it as a technology, adoption of that to improve the processes, and as Colonel Parmar said, reducing the air loss, actually. Now, I'm sure efficiency is directly proportional to the air loss, actually. And I'm sure a lot of things are understood by you, probably. It not only leads to a poorer if you have a increased ALS, I'm sure it reflects very badly on the financials also. And perception, which is a very, very important part of the consumer. The perception of a consumer actually goes into a tangent, and that reflects on your subsequently the same set of the patient or the near people of the. So I'm sure there are certain gaps which I'm sure all of you are aware of, which needs to be plugged in, and even in the brownfield operations, those areas which are underlooked and and grossly they are impacting on the outcomes need to be also improved upon. I'm sure my summary would be to have some thought given. I raised it to Commander Bali at one of the forums, if you remember, 6 months back when you were at the NH, sir. Safety is one of the very, very important aspects. And I'm sure safety of everyone, including the most important stakeholder, that is the patient. So how much are we focused on improving the safety? When I say about safety, we have learned from the pandemic the impact of infection and how it can destroy a very good outcome, actually.
Very pertinent question. So if you see, we discussed it partly yesterday in the hospital design. So one of the worthy speakers brought out that the hospital circulation itself has to be planned from the inception stage. So separate entrance to the hospital, infected patients or their relatives or for the hospital staff, right? There might be cost implications. Also within the hospital premises itself, we have seen during the COVID pandemic that, everybody who comes to the healthcare facilities, the viral load was so high that people would get infected just by merely visiting. And there are hospitals which totally got infected, certain hospitals which were quarantined in Mumbai, right? So planning, then following the infection, prevention protocols, which are very well laid out in every hospital. And in case infection does take place, at a larger scale, in which also the healthcare professionals are involved. We have well set SOPs in the hospitals which take care of it. But yes, very pertinent question, especially in the outbreak of these huge pandemics. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, please. Last question. The rest we can address
I'm
post
a
this
lay
session. We
media.
are running
I
short of time.
don't know the intricacies of these things, you know. Will in times to come, engineers will be healers rather than doctors?
I think doctors will have always and every time throughout the history the most critical and important role to play in healthcare. Neither engineers nor anyone else nor machines will take their place. Humans have always evolved, and as technology evolves, they also evolve. So a doctor's role will remain a doctor's role. I'm sure engineers have too much on their hands already that they would not want to venture into such a complex thing as doing what doctors does. I think many of us sitting here, I mean, some of us know it, some of us don't know it. I mean, there are huge amount of work what a doctor does, which actually never comes in front, and that can never ever be done by anybody else but the doctor. So, I quite disagree with this statement. I don't think anybody will be able to take place of a doctor in healthcare today, tomorrow, and forever. Thank you.
No, I think, throughout that time, the discussion has been on the technology, the artificial intelligence, all those factors. They are all the facilitators.
Yes.
Ultimately, we call artificial intelligence not intelligence. The intelligence is still coming from the doctor. It's a process which is being facilitated. See, ultimately, what are we looking at? We are talking of safe medical practice. We are talking of precise medical practice. We are talking of better outcomes. We are talking of better patient recovery. We are talking of quicker patient recovery. Now, all these are tools for what the doctor wants to achieve and what the patient wants to achieve. For the doctor, patient, and the family, whatever is required to be achieved, these technologies, they become the tools for making it happen. The question of what technology is, I think, the most important, because the cost of technology is high, the cost of implementation sometimes even higher, and the outcomes, if the organization doesn't know what outcome it is aiming at, then you are doing an infructuous expenses, which are again borne by the patient. So optimization of the technology. Today, technology is such a thing. By the time I spell technology, the technology has changed. Something new has come in.
Right.
The optimization of technology by the organization for what I need, what is going to be beneficial for my patient, for my people who are working in the organization, anyone who's connected to healthcare for that matter. That's what's going to be the game of the day. Thank you so much.
In the armed forces, we always say that is the man behind the gun, right? So that man behind the gun here is the doctor, and he's irreplaceable. So everybody else in the hospital is a support ecosystem. Doctor remains the prime driver, and that's what the patient-centric organizations look at, right? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so very much to all the esteemed panelists and the moderator of the panel discussion over here. So it's said that wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is a love of humanity. So can we have a huge round of applause for all the doctors present over here? And definitely we'll see a great India in terms of healthcare as well, as diagnostic technology will definitely play a crucial role in addressing one of the biggest issue in healthcare. So I would like to call Mr. Manish Rastogi sir and Afzal sir, please come up on the stage to present a token of appreciation to all the esteemed panelists and the moderator of the panel discussion over here. So first, for the token of appreciation, I would like to call here Colonel Hemraj Singh Parmar, sir. Please give him a huge round of applause for Colonel Hemraj Singh Parmar. He's a co-founder of AyushPay. Thank you so very much. Next, I would like to call here Dr. YP Bhatia. Sir, please join us here and receive this token of appreciation. He is the Managing Director of Astron Hospital and Healthcare Consultant, Gurugram. Thank you so very much, sir. Next, I would like to call here Commander Navneet Bali, sir. He's the CEO of Clearmedi Healthcare. Please give him a huge round of applause. Thank you so very much. Next, I would like to call here Dr. Vibhu Ranjan Gupta, sir. He's the Group Medical Director of Sarvodaya Healthcare. Can we make a louder applause for him? Thank you so very much, all the dignitaries. Can we have a group photo over here? Thank you so very much, all the intellects and all the dignitaries, for taking out your precious time for the panel discussion over here.